our conscious mind is already filing, deleting, and distorting the 4 million bytes per second that it can manage. During that time, the unconscious is absorbing 400 trillion bytes of information per second with all of the things that are in the universe that we're filtering, and we're filtering that much in one time. So it's learning to use that filing system and creating a visual around it so that you can then access memories a little bit easier.
Hey everybody, Jeff here. Before we get started, if you're getting value from the podcast, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For those of you listening on podcast apps, don't forget to rate and review. Your support really helps the show reach more people, and for that, I am truly grateful. Now let's dive in.
Welcome to The Point with Jeff Spikes.
Hello, and welcome to The Point. Almost changing names, The Point. You have been listening and hearing and paying attention because feedback has come in asking, when are you going to change the name? And maybe the reality is that came from a number of you that are my friends that have heard me considering and talking about changing the name and allowing this to evolve. And, you know, there's a value considered here to allow this to evolve with you. One of the things that's come up the most in this last month as you're given this opportunity to consider, you know, this mid-year shift into what have I gotten done so far? This idea of listing all of the things that you've benefited from this year, things you think were cool, things that made you feel good. You know, this is a strategy you can use if you're having a difficult time feeling motivated and energized, creating a vision of what you want in the world. You know, one of the ways to invigorate that feeling is to think back in history of all the things you found that were cool, that you did, that you thought was cool from any age. And so we do the same thing with this year, you know, thinking about that. And that helps you then build into this framework of gratitude and really leverage the idea of how gratitude works as a powerful forward-moving energy and how it helps really create the result you're looking for. Then we started looking at alignment, considering what's aligned and not aligned. And one of the things that's come up is obstacles. Like, what are the obstacles to alignment? There's this self-perception that I've gotten a lot of feedback on, this idea that you believe you're doing one thing, but the feedback is you're getting another. You know, you might have heard my story of, you know, when I was touring locations and surveying these stores, retail stores, and I'm walking around with a clipboard in my hand, and I'm focused on looking for certainly things that were needing to be better, you know, areas to clean or things that were broken or something else. So there was a list of things that needed to be done, but most of what was being captured was looking for wins, looking for ways to acknowledge what and find out the things that were working well, that we noticed that were great. How were they making that happen? And then leverage that across multiple locations. And really, so mostly I was celebrating wins, but my focus was about looking at a clipboard and writing things down. And I was just thinking to myself and had this intense look. I was trying to get through it quickly. And someone asked me if I had informed my face that I was having a good time. I had never thought of it. So I had a total misaligned self-perception. I thought I'm walking into these stores, I'm going to deliver some good news. I'm going to help them really elevate their experience, find out what they're doing great in that environment, and help them then create a story around it. Tell me the story of how that works so we could create stories for others and really elevate everyone. So I'm in there thinking I'm in a great space and in a great mood, and everyone's like afraid of all the critical stuff I'm coming up with because I look so intense, right? It can be a real showstopper, and it can be a real limitation if you're in a position of being misaligned with how you think you're being. Now, you know, in Upwill, you know, Upwill's our agency helping you. And if you're a client and you're here because you're a client there, it's, you know this, right? But it's that idea of working with people in service to others on a level of communicating and being clear about the value being delivered, not because the individual that's providing the service is so great, but based on what the client that's receiving the value is benefiting from, excited about, and enjoying, right? What they're really gaining from it. Because those are the two sides of perception, and a misaligned self-perception of all the value you're adding and then not having satisfied customers can cause some issues. We had one person that was literally upset and thought that their clients were stupid and was just getting so frustrated. And the issue was that it was a misaligned self-perception. Do not let that get too far away from you, and make sure you're considering what is really being received. And if you can do that in life in general, of how are people receiving you, then you can actually have an impact on knowing, being clear on how people feel as you walk away from them, so that you're leaving people better than you found them, if that's one of your goals, right? Now, that I know that's some of your goals because I've had feedback on that. Techniques of memorizing, right? People have been asking for, how do I memorize names better? So creating those mental, exercises. It's like the filing cabinet rule. How do I remember all these things? Teaching our mind to sort things through files. Our conscious mind is already filing, deleting, and distorting the 4 million bytes per second that it can manage. Well, during that time, the unconscious is absorbing 400 trillion bytes of information per second with all of the things that are in the universe that we're filtering, and we're filtering that much in one time. So it's learning to use that filing system and creating a visual around it so that you can then access memories a little bit easier. I don't have that structured of a system for it, so it really depends on your strengths and how you process. So, which is why we have been leveraging our processing strengths assessment as well. You know better than anyone as an Upwell client that's one of the main considerations, is what are people actually gaining and benefiting and excited to receive from you. That's the real value. That will give you an aligned perception. So asking questions, being open, having a desire to serve and add value, then there's a very genuine ask and request of what are you getting that works. And then you can also cover what's not working so that you can make adjustments. That disconnection can erode trust and have people really not wanting to engage as much. So that's where, and along with that comes this idea of competing priorities. So overcommitment is another blind spot. Really what the best bang for the buck there, the best evaluation there is know who you are, what you want, and what your values are. Gain the baseline of where you are, create the vision of where you're going. You take the time to do the mental work, you won't need as many of these ruthless prioritization tools to help you get there. Those are well needed in many environments, and I don't scrutinize them or say that they're not amazing. I have used a handful of them myself. But once you have that, once you've done the mental work to create the whole package of understanding of where you are and where you want to go, then it's a lot easier to pick and choose what priorities you set in place. And you won't feel the same, like you're letting people down in the multiple hats. You'll be clear as to who might not be as happy, and that will be an acceptable thing. You'll have an understandable reasoning for why you move forward and made the decisions you did, and you won't worry about the rest. The third thing that can really get in the way is assuming alignment without confirmation. Have you ever had conversations with people where you spoke a lot and you believe that you both made an agreement and you were both in full alignment of what needed to be done, and at the end you were all alone in the enterprise? You were the only one rowing in that direction. The other person just went, okay. Sometimes somebody shaking their head and saying yes or okay means please stop talking. It doesn't mean okay, I get it. It means, oh my God, could this conversation end? And that's just a reality of life. So don't assume that somebody is fully in with you and is aligned with you. And this can happen in the most intimate of relationships, and this can happen in the most fragmented relationships where you're not as close to them, or the most distant relationships would be a better word for that. It's easy to believe that you're on the same path and you have the same goal, but never assume. It's always a good practice to stop and listen and ask again and then even confirm again. one way of doing this, if you're looking at building engagements and offering to serve or be of service and help somebody or work with somebody, is you sit down and go through an exercise of listening and asking questions and digging deep into the needs. Then you stop for a minute and you write all those things down and send it back to them in a proposal, like a scope of work or a set of agreements you could have of, hey, here's what I think I heard that you want. Here's what we're both talking about agreeing to. It might not be as defined as a scope of work, depending on what you're doing, right? Depending on what type of service you provide or what relationship you're negotiating in this, or what type of goal you're wanting to have alignment in. But it's always good to go back and query. And then there's nothing wrong with writing it down. It's a common practice. It has been for years. Many, many great coaches of the past have taught, write down 10 things that in the present tense, as if it's already been accomplished, that you'd like to accomplish. So not, I want to make, 10 pies before Christmas. It's nope. I have made these 10 beautiful, tasty, visibly pleasing, amazing pies, and people are eating them and enjoying them. They've been fully consumed, and the feedback I've received has been phenomenal. Everyone loves them, right? That's speaking of it in the present as if it's already happened. They say, right, that's the rhythm, right? You write 10 goals as if it's happening now, as if it's already been achieved now, but they're things that you'd like to have in the future. So that goes along with the idea of practicing gratitude for something, the gratitude of having achieved it already. So don't assume alignment. You can miss the mark and misexecute. You can get the wrong things done. But it really requires that open dialogue. So those are the three things. You might want to do a quick checklist of how transactional am I? How many expectations do I have out there that I could just put in a checkbox like a to-do list of I'm expecting these things to be done? And if there's a lot of that in a relationship or with a group or with people, you might be more transactional than you are relational, and that's an easy time when assuming that that there's alignment and not confirming. They might just be doing all of the behaviors they need to do because they want to have a good review, or because they don't want to be yelled at, or whatever it is. They might have an entirely different motivation to it, be appearing to be aligned. But don't make that mistake, and always ask, do you understand why this is important? Now that can go for, working in restaurants before and really helping people understand the value of the person that mops the floor. They create the first impression of every customer that walks in the door. If they mop the floor well and clean the front door well, and the first thing you walk into is crisp, clean, inviting, beautiful, if you're going to skip mopping, don't skip mopping what people see the minute they walk in, right? Because every owner, manager, and person in the world that's going to walk in is going to have a judgment based on that first experience. The person who mops the floor is critical, right? So does that person know why their job is so valuable and important? You will get everyone in the organization dialed in and absolutely on board with understanding, being aligned with what they're doing and how it affects the bigger role. If you can help the person who mops the floor and cleans the front glass understand why and how that really makes a difference in meeting the larger goals of the restaurant. Little nuggets and ideas. This was a short one today, and that's perfectly designed for you to consider these three obstacles. What do we want to do with obstacles? We want to spend less time on obstacles than we do on the solutions and on what's working well. These are the cautions and warning signs that you guys have been sharing as we've gone along, and that we've heard through experience. This isn't just an anecdotal resource. This is your experience that we're now sharing with you and others as you listen. So you're getting an experience of real life issues that have happened for people, obstacles that they've faced, and how they've overcome them. Watch for those few things. Those are great tasks to give your critical mind. Hey, watch out if I'm doing this. Remind me. Let's keep reminders so that I remember to ask questions and ask if people understand. Look for those touch points. If you do this in that gratitude checklist, and you start expressing gratitude to some of the people that you need alignment with, that's another way that you quickly infuse and don't have these problems. So many of the things that you'll institute into your life that are offered here are going to help you not have problems you haven't even thought about. Implement what you can and take it for proving, and let's make this a phenomenal end of summer and walk into fall, because you want to be ready to enjoy these beautiful colors and all of the wonderful, fresh, crisp, bright air that comes with the fall, all the good smells, and then we're walking right into the holiday season with all the other good, visceral, wonderful touch points and sensory experiences that we get to have with the holidays. So remember, you are extremely unique in your approach, in your perception, and in the choices you make. And by leaning into the best of who you are, life can be easy and effortless, like you've never even imagined. And if you've imagined it, you're on the way there. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time.
The show about achieving goals.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of The Point with me, Jeff Spikes. Please visit jeffspikes.com for everything you would need to know to engage with me offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Point.
About achieving